Hey guys, this is Chris with Drop Dice. We are back again with the Choice Matters series. This time we're talking about the Rage, and by the Rage I mean the Barbarian. Again, this series is targeted more towards Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. However, the information that I give you goes across all systems, all genres. Because let's face it, barbarians are everywhere. And if you don't believe me, let's talk real quick about the barbarian, its origins, and where it comes up in things. So the barbarian has been around since basically mankind's been around. There's always been these myths, these legends of people who tap into this internal power source and overcome a staggering physical challenge. This could be a man wrestling a saber-toothed tiger for our cavemen, all the way to a woman lifting a car off of her baby in current days. And even further, if you were to go into the Warhammer 40k series and look at the Core Knight Berserkers, which are these Chaos Marines that tap into rage in such a unique way. They revel in the beauty of death. And the more horrific, more torturous the death is, the more pleasing it is. But it needs to be a death that is functional, a battle. It has to be a slaughter. And that is what appeals to them. They're like an army of sociopaths that have been bioengineered for war. It's ridiculous. And you could do that no matter what game you play. So let's quickly talk about the main feature of what makes barbarians barbarians, and that's the rage. I hate the term rage, though, because, like I said earlier, it's this internal source of power that basically allows you to achieve inhuman capabilities, to become something greater, almost superhuman, if you would. And, sorry, I've had to record this a couple times because I keep screwing up, so I'm a little parched. But the rage itself, if you look at it, compared to other things that are defined in other games, the rage is not really super defined. It says that it's a primal fury that you tap into and gives you a strength bonus, and you can do these physical things. And it's like, okay, cool, but what does it look like? It doesn't tell you. Like, if you look up a fireball, it tells you that it's a fiery explosion within 30-foot radius, and this is how much damage it does, and this is the components that goes into it. It's very detailed. Well, rage is not. Unfortunately, pretty much all the martial classes do not have that much detail inside them. However, fortunately, they don't have that much detail inside them. I think it's a great opportunity for you as a creative person to interject your own. Let's talk about 3 quick barbarians that I think are worth mentioning because they are a great iconic place to go. So the first one would be Smash, played by my friend Murdoch. He played this noble barbarian that was a savage noble. He came from a tribe where, because he was a barbarian, he was honored with the best cuts of meat, the best women, the best alcohol. And when he joined the party, he kept this idea going. So whenever we killed something, he would claim the best cuts of meat. The other thing that he was a savage, so he would eat his prey. Like, if he killed a halfling, he would eat that halfling for dinner. While the rest of the party objected to it, we had to come to terms with his society lived in a fringe part of the world where any kill was meat. You had to eat it. And so, for a while in the game, he was literally eating our enemies, and it was quite terrifying for the enemies. They didn't want to face him in the field, but it was more of a cultural thing, not a I must eat them to gain their strength thing, which is also a cultural thing, but it's not quite what he was going for. So I thought Smash was a great character because his leadership eventually boiled down to being a leader of the party, which became being the leader of a tribe, which became being the leader of a nation and even a god later on, because his character actually did ascend. And I thought it was very cool because his character was not a dumb barbarian. He was actually a very clever and smart barbarian. He surrounded himself with people that had strengths that he did not have. He was, if you would, kind of similar to the Mongolians. Mongolians, I think, are really great because if you look at the hordes prioritized people's skills and things like that over necessarily like their birth rank and things like that. And the way that Smash was played was very much like that. He collected people that had valuable assets to his end goal. He would actually make a pretty good Sith. A second barbarian that I'd like to mention would be Pinky, who is played by Brendan, who was a hobgoblin. No, not a hobgoblin. He was a bugbear who was named for the first bone broken in his body, which happened to be his pinky. And that was kind of an interesting thing about his society, but what made his character even better was because he was slave to the hobgoblins, he treated the slaves that he collected as lower ranking slaves than he was. At the start of the game, he started on a chain, and after a while, he remained keeping the chain on, and it was kind of like Jet Li. Once the chain was unchained, that being the title of the movie, he went batshit crazy and killed things that were in front of him. It was awesome. He would then capture people and chain them to the chain that was on him, and he would structure the people on that chain by their rank according to what he saw them beneficial for during times of war or combat, which I thought was really cool because his idea of being strong meant being alive, and that's why he was a barbarian. The third type I'd like to mention is the hyper-focused barbarian, and for this I want you guys to check out Mike the Piper's channel. On his channel he runs a game where there's a siege, and I am playing a blood hunter in there. It was meant to be a multi-part, but it became a one-part, unfortunately. The character I want you to pay attention to, however, is Tim Kearney. Tim tries to avoid saying that his character is a barbarian, but it is, just to give you a heads up. He has a team of barbarians behind him, and essentially what happens, the really cool, iconic moment, is he pulls down this World War II-1 gas mask that has just those single goggle eyes on each side, to where all you see is what's in front of you, and these masks are like the epitome and the symbology of what his rage is. Instead of being this burning, uncontrollable inferno where he just kills and maims and just revels in the blood spray, he instead is hyper-focused. He goes after a singular target, he takes it out efficiently, effectively, and moves to the next target. I love barbarians like that because it's a different spin on it. The other things that I wanted to talk about real quick here are some ways to get you encouraged and inspired in your own barbarians. Let's first look at your background and backstory. As I mentioned in the last video, those are super important. Make sure that you pay attention to them because they will shape how you look at things. For example, where does your rage come from? Is it an adrenaline rush? Does it have your eyes dilate and your veins stick out and you are sweating this cold, drenched sweat even though your body is burning up? Or is it something more like this hyper-focused battle mask kind of rage? Is it somewhere in between? Is it something different? In the mythic China world, or mythic China setting of Xiaoyun from Stratmere, the barbarians there, they are actually channeling their ancient, or their ancestors, former barbarians, and the rage that they feel, it's commonly referred to as the rage of 1,000 armies, because it is believed that the barbarians channel the spirits of all barbarians that have passed, that their rage is fueled by those that came before them. So it is not uncommon for barbarians to see inside that world visions, have dreams with about the past and things like that. And that's kind of a cool flavor thing that I added. I'd like to know how your barbarians get their rage, what it means to them, and how does it personify itself inside your worlds. The other thing that I'd like to discuss is, how does your barbarian pay reverence to his rage? Is it something he's proud of, or is it something he fears? Is it something that he's not comfortable with? If it's something he's proud of, what does he do to show that he is a barbarian, a proud, noble member of this cult almost? If he's scared of it, what does he do to hide it? Does he go out of his way to lock himself up? Does he purposely leave conversations before he gets angry? Bruce Banner's a great example of that. He would stop people and he'd say, "You don't want to see me get angry." That kind of thing. Like, does your barbarian do that? Another type of barbarian that I thought about the last time I was recording this, which would be very interesting, would be a barbarian who is addicted to their rage, like a drug. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of brain chemistry that goes into the rage, this feral state, if you play it according to the feral state idea. There's a lot of like endorphins, adrenaline, things like that that are going on. Maybe your character rages so much that you've become addicted to it. If you have a moment to sit down for a long rest but you still have a rage left, imagine going up to, just saying to your GM, I go up to a pillar and I go into rage and I just start punching the pillar. The party has no idea what the hell your character's doing. He's just like screaming and punching a pillar. Once your minute's over, you sit down in almost a euphoric state and you're just like, oh, I feel so good. And then you just go to sleep. Don't even bring it up to the party. Eventually the party will ask you why the hell you keep screaming and punching stuff at the end of the day. Just a character that launches himself into fury at any opportunity that he can because he's completely addicted. He needs it to survive. I think that's a really cool concept. Another idea would be a character who starts to suffer ill effects because of his rage. Like, talk about a character who uses it too often, and that vein that pops up, maybe it just doesn't go away for a while after one of your rages. Or maybe you develop ulcers because, your character's been raging so much that his stomach acid's been churning and he's just can't eat the food that he used to at the beginning of the campaign, things like that. Which I think is really cool. Another way to do it would be maybe have your rage come from a specific source. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it comes from a potion. Your barbarian's rage could be driven from breaking a trinket, swallowing a potion or a pill, or anything like that. And you could play it as your character he does this when it's an emergency, breaks the glass because you have to. As always, guys, this has been a source of inspiration for me, and I hope it was for you. Please comment, like, subscribe, and tell me how your barbarians fit in your world so that I know next time I play with you. As a bonus, I am including a barbarian path that I wrote for Xiao Yun, the Mythic China. It is in beta test, and I would love it if you guys give it a view. Check it out. Tell me how you feel about it. If you don't like it, tell me what you don't like. If you do like it, tell me what you do like or what you might change if you could. It isn't a beta test. I am open to hear your suggestions. And ultimately, I would love to put out maybe a path for each one of these videos that I do class-specific. Just recently, I've been on a barbarian kick, and I hope you guys get inspired to be on one yourselves now. As always, guys, I'll see you at the gaming table, and rage on.